today's musical landscape, owning physical media is growing more and more every day. And nothing is seen as resurgence like collecting records. And let me guess, you want it. So you went ahead, bought a record player, but you have no clue what records you should be looking to get first. Well, I have 5 essential albums for anyone looking to have the dopest collection on this planet. These 5 albums are based on 3 things. 1, price point. See, when you're starting with your collection, you're probably going to only pick a few albums. And trust me, collecting a bunch of them can get really expensive really fast. So you want to make sure that you're looking out for the good ones, so that way you don't run your pockets up. Number 2, access. If you can't even find the album, then what's even the point? These 5 albums on my list are super easy to find, and they come in multiple different variants, so that way it's super easy to get whatever option you want. Number 3, what's the vibe looking like? See, you're probably only going to start off with just a few vinyls anyway, so you want to make sure that you find like your first couple records that like you can really get into. You know, ones that are like a no skip album, ones that have just different moods across the entire record, so that way you don't have to just keep getting up and changing them. So with that criteria said, here are my 5 albums that I think are perfect for any beginner vinyl collector. Number 1, I feel like this first album is a super easy pick because this artist has just been killing it all year. He went through an amazing rap beef, came out on top, then dropped an amazing album on top of that. Well, of course, we're talking about Kendrick Lamar, but we're talking about one of his classics, Good Kid, Mad City. What is there not to love about this album? This album has hits like The Art of Pure Pressure, Money Trees, Backseat Freestyle, and his breakout single, Swimming Pools. Now I remember staying up all night waiting for this album to drop, and we all know it was super worth it. This album was nominated for a Grammy and was low-key snubbed, but on the bright side, it is 3 times platinum. This album was released under TDE and features production from Dr. Dre, Pharrell, Hit Boy, and many others. This album is renowned for its storytelling, which led it to peak at number 2 on the Billboard's Top 100. Fun fact, this is the only album that you'll ever find a feature from Drake with Kendrick. So you can find this album in multiple different variations. You have the standard version like this, and the black alternative colorway. There's also a third version, but they all pretty much go for around $30. You can even find this version of the album for about $18. So Good Kid, Mad City is super easy to find and is honestly a really great album to add to your collection. Quite frankly, I think there's so much of these, you'll probably walk into a record store and trip over a stack of them. But still, this would be an amazing album to add to your vinyl collection. Number 2, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Live. What, you thought I was going to pick another hip hop album or something? No, it's important to have some sort of diversity inside your collection. We big DI over here. There are many different versions of this album. You have the live version and you also have the studio recorded version. Since I have the live version, we're going to talk about this. This record was recorded in 1975 while Bob Marley and the Wailers were on tour in London. On the live version, you can hear Bob Marley's raw vocals and the energetic atmosphere of the crowd. This puts you in a headspace as if you're right there on stage with them. And of course, with this version, you're getting strictly the hits like Get Up, Stand Up, I Shot the Sheriff, and No Woman, No Cry. But honestly, everything else on this album is still amazing. Bob Marley's cultural impact had an effect on everybody. I seriously can't think of a single person who hates Bob Marley. This album topped at number 8 on the UK's Top 100 and still gets played till this day. Bob Marley would make an amazing addition to start your collection. For my third choice, Flower Boy by Tyler, the Creator. This album is Tyler's first big break into mainstream success. This album features songs like Who Dat Boy, 911, Mr. Lonely, and of course his first commercial success, See You Again, featuring Kali Uchis. Tyler produced his whole album by himself, showing amazing growth stemming from all his other albums, especially his one before this one, Cherry Bomb. Although Flower Boy was nominated for a Grammy for Best Rap Album, this album is so much more than that. This album is a fusion of jazz, neo-soul, and R&B. Tyler's openness about him being lonely, his identity, and just him self-reflecting on this album changed the public's whole perspective about him. And with this public shift, Flower Boy peaked at number 2 on the Billboard's Top 100. The standard version of this album you can find for about $15 to $30, and there's another version that goes for just a little bit more, but for the most part, they're pretty easy to find. This album has vibes for days and would be a great inclusion to your collection. For my 4th pick, Swimming by Mac Miller. Now, I feel like there's so much to say about Mac Miller, but we all know he's an amazing artist. But why this album out of his entire discography? Well, that's because I think this is peak Mac Miller, literally and metaphorically. See, this is Mac Miller's last album that he actually worked on himself before his tragic passing. This album got him a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Album. And also, I feel like all his other albums just seemed like they just came from a place of just constant emotional turmoil, a lot of grief, and a lot of pain, which is okay because you can tell Mac Miller was a very introspective artist and he was also battling a lot. But I feel like with Swimming, he was approaching it from a different angle this time. You can tell that he was coming from this place of like peace and like just him being okay with himself as an artist. And you can tell that off the lead single, Self-Care. Now, I know this whole album isn't just sunshine and rainbows, but I feel like you can definitely truly feel like there's something different about this album. See, this is an amazing album that is just chill, that you can play and you can just kick your feet up. Swimming is a hip hop, jazz, neo soul, R&B infused album and is a easy listen to from start to finish. With major fan support, you can find this album everywhere. There's a bunch of different variants of this album, but the standard one shouldn't run you too much. They probably run around $30 as well. So if I were you, I would try to find this album ASAP. Now, before I get to my number one, I have to talk about the runner-up. See, love him or hate him, my runner-up is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West. I mean, there's no denying it. Kanye West is an amazing artist. It's just that with his public antics and the overall drop in album quality, it just leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. Pause. See, I still love Yeezus and The Life of Pablo, but any general Kanye fan would say that My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was his last great album. Plus, this album usually runs you about like $40 to $50 anyway, so it's a little bit on the pricey side for a beginner album. With all that being said, I still think it's a great album, but I don't think it's an album you should be looking to add to your collection right away, which is why it's just a runner-up. So for my number one, what could it be? What could it be? My number one is Control by SZA. See, I might be a little bit biased because I love SZA, but who doesn't love SZA? This album was released under Top Dog Entertainment and is primarily a neo soul and R&B album. I'm saying primarily, no, it is all an R&B and neo soul album. But I'm sure you probably heard this album by now. And if you did, you would know why it's certified platinum 3 times. Mind you, it was only released back in 2017. With it being certified platinum that many times, I'm actually very shocked it's never won a Grammy. Although it was nominated 5 times. I'm feeling like there was another snub that year. This album features hits like Supermodel, Broken Clocks, Weekend, Do I Need to Continue? This album was a streaming success and it reached legendary status within the R&B and neo soul genre. You can find this album pretty easily in the green colorway, but there is one other colorway that is super rare that if, I don't know, maybe you could find it. That is the clear Coke bottle pressing of this vinyl. I'm actually kidding. The clear Coke bottle version of this album is super hard to get, super limited, super rare, also very expensive. So that was me just kind of flexing. My bad. I'm sorry. But otherwise, this album is a super easy album to find. And the standard version runs you about $30 as well. With all that being said, these are my 5 albums that are perfect for any beginner trying to start their vinyl collection. Please tell me your first vinyl down below in the comment section. Tell me what your favorite vinyl is. Let me know if you even agree with my 5. And if you have suggestions for any other albums in other different genres, please write them down below as well. You can follow me on my socials listed down below and subscribe so you can stay tuned for the next video. But till next time, keep it spinning.